Hi everyone, Danny Jarris here, and I'd like to share with you guys my Student Athlete Leadership Development Research Proposal. And here's my presentation overview. I'm going to begin with a general topic area that I started with and some of the key findings that I came across, which eventually led to my research question. And then I will share with you guys just my research methodology and setting, and also my intended research population and sample, and then I'll wrap up with the next steps. So my general topic area started with the idea of student-athlete leadership development. While there is general learning in this area, sometimes there's no real hands-on experience that these students can use. A lot of the times this is more theoretical learning in the classroom setting, learning about the history of leadership or from a definition standpoint, and not really having that practical learning experience. So then I kind of started to look at leadership development programs and what those would look like. Some of the guiding questions that I used through this process were: how do student athletes develop into strong leaders? What can athletic departments do to guide this development? And ultimately, what are some of the benefits of developing these strong leaders? So here are some of the key findings that I've found so far in my research. One of the main ones here is the structure of the development. As Fritz and Guthrie comment, they list the three elements that should be in place. One being the formal education and theories and principles, two being the practical experience, and three, the reflection. So this relates to that learn, experience, and reflect model. The second point here is the importance of developing the emotional intelligence of the leaders. I'm not going to read this whole quote here, but I'd like to focus on the end where it says a leader needs to be successful in reflecting on experience, interpreting environmental cues, and relating to followers so they can develop relationships. This was just an important part because it talks about the interpersonal skills that leaders need to develop when they're developing their leadership skills, and them being able to relate to others, to take the cues of people around them and turn them into a positive experience is really an important aspect of the leadership development. So here are a couple more key findings that I've found. The first here being that using qualitative methods can be effective for leadership research. As Odom, Boyd, and Williams explain here, qualitative research can be the richest of studies, often illuminating in radically new ways phenomena as complex as leadership. There's no doubt that leadership is a complex subject, and it's actually a very subjective topic. Therefore, there aren't very many quantitative methods out there for completing this leadership research because it is so complex, and as they indicate here, using qualitative methods will be more effective. The second point here is challenging current leadership ideas. It's very important that these leaders who are undergoing this development kind of come in with a new mindset or a growth mindset. Ultimately, as Suba and Suba explain here, these preconceived notions can limit organizational effectiveness. As they state, it's important to examine them and question them. So through this leadership development, there needs to be this aspect of challenging old ways of viewing leadership and coming in with a new mindset to grow as a leader and to develop as a leader. My current research question is, what are the key components of an effective student-athlete leadership development program? Some of the variables that I've identified are program structure, method of learning, which for example could be an online module or a one-day workshop or an 8-session program. I've also identified the facilitator, the participants, the assessment tools, and ultimately the institution or association that is offering the program. So for my research method, I plan on using a systematic meta-analysis. So I'll be conducting research on existing studies, looking to kind of synthesize the data, findings, and conclusions of their research to hopefully develop a new understanding about the effective student-athlete leadership development. This means that my research setting is really going to be reviewing those current studies, Obviously, I won't be interacting with individual people, but more just kind of compiling their studies and then ultimately choosing their studies based on ones that meet a certain criteria that I will touch upon next. So my research population for this study are the intended studies that will be included for review. I'll be choosing these studies based on some of the factors below, which include age of participants, the assessment tools, the facilitator, the purpose of the program, the number of participants that are in the program, and then ultimately the program structure. This will really be my population, and hopefully I can get a sample of 6 to 8 studies that really meet this criteria. So some of the next steps for this research process are continue to develop the criteria to choose the list of studies that I will use, and then for those chosen studies, develop a process by which they'll be evaluated. I also need to compile a list of these potential studies, and then ultimately narrow them down so that I can use them for my meta-analysis, and then ultimately just continue to gather and apply feedback that I get from others throughout this process. So I hope you have enjoyed my presentation, and please let me know if you have any questions and or feedback that I could use. Thank you.